Sahelanthropus tchadensis. At 7 million years old, Sahelanthropus sits at the base of the human family tree. A French team found the skull in 2001 in the deserts of Chad, far west of where paleontologists usually look. The opening at the bottom of the skull, where the spine connects, faces straight down. That hints at upright walking. If the evidence holds, Sahelanthropus is the oldest known biped and the closest fossil we have to the moment our line split from chimpanzees. Ardipithecus ramidus. Ardi lived 4.4 million years ago in what is now Ethiopia. She stood 4 feet tall and weighed 110 pounds. Her brain was the size of a chimp's, but her pelvis says she walked upright on the ground, and her feet had a grasping big toe for climbing. Ardi did both. She came down from the trees to walk, then climbed back up to sleep. Every hominin after her went further on 2 legs. Australopithecus afarensis. Lucy is the most famous fossil in human evolution. Donald Johansson's team found her in Ethiopia in 1974, dated to 3.2 million years ago. She stood 3.5 feet tall and walked on 2 legs. Her brain was the size of a chimp's, around 400 cubic centimeters. In 1978, Mary Leakey uncovered a trail of footprints at Leyte in Tanzania. 3 afarensis individuals had walked through wet volcanic ash. The ash hardened and the prints survived. They look like the prints of modern humans. Australopithecus africanus. Africanus lived in southern Africa between 3.3 and 2.1 million years ago. Its brain was 450 cubic centimeters larger than afarensis. Raymond Dart announced the first specimen, the Taung child, in 1925. Before that, scientists believed humans evolved in Europe or Asia. The Taung child proved Africa was the cradle. Africanus ate a wider range of food than its predecessors: fruits, leaves, roots, small animals. That dietary flexibility likely set up the next jump in brain size. Paranthropus boisei. Boisei is the nutcracker man. It lived in East Africa from 2.3 to 1.2 million years ago. Its jaw was built to crush. The molars were 4 times the size of ours. A bony ridge ran along the top of its skull. The chewing muscles attached there could shatter bone, but isotope readings from boisei teeth say it mostly ate grass and sedges. The biggest jaw in human evolution, fueled by soft plant food. Boisei died out and left no descendants. Homo habilis. Homo habilis means handyman. It lived in East Africa between 2.4 and 1.4 million years ago, and it changed everything. Habilis is the first species we know made stone tools. The tools are called the Oldowan, and they look like nothing, just sharp flakes knocked off a cobble. But that is the start of the human technological line. Every iPhone in your pocket traces back to a habilis hand striking one rock against another. Homo erectus. Homo erectus lived for almost 2 million years, from 1.9 million years ago all the way down to maybe 110,000 years ago in Java. That is longer than any other human species, including ours. Erectus had a brain of 900 cubic centimeters and a body shape close to a modern marathon runner. It was the first species to leave Africa, walking into the Caucasus, China, and Indonesia. It probably controlled fire. The Acheulean hand axe, a teardrop-shaped stone blade, was its calling card for over 1 million years. Homo heidelbergensis. Heidelbergensis lived between 700,000 and 200,000 years ago across Africa, Europe, and parts of Asia. Its brain was 1,200 cubic centimeters, close to ours. It was tall and powerful. Heidelbergensis is the common ancestor we share with Neanderthals. The European populations evolved into Neanderthals. The African populations evolved into us. Archaeologists pulled wooden throwing spears out of a German coal mine, 400,000 years old and still intact. Heidelbergensis hunted horses and elephants with those spears. Homo naledi. In 2013, two amateur cavers squeezed through a slot the size of a forearm and dropped into a chamber filled with bones. The fossils were Homo naledi. They lived between 335,000 and 236,000 years ago. Naledi had a brain of 500 cubic centimeters, the size of an Australopithecus brain. But the body and feet were built for walking long distances on two legs. The chamber where the bones lay is almost impossible to reach. The leading theory is that Naledi carried its dead in there to bury them. Homo neanderthalensis. Neanderthals lived across Europe and Western Asia from 400,000 to 40,000 years ago. Their brains were 1,500 cubic centimeters larger than ours. They were thick-boned, short-limbed, and built for the Ice Age. Neanderthals made stone blades, controlled fire, buried their dead, and painted cave walls with red ochre. They met modern humans in the Middle East and Europe, and they had children with them. If your ancestors came from outside Africa, between 1 and 4% of your DNA is Neanderthal. They vanished 40,000 years ago, soon after modern humans arrived in their territory. Denisovan. In 2008, a Russian team excavating Denisova cave in Siberia found a single finger bone. They sent it for DNA testing. The result came back as a third human species, one nobody knew existed. Everything we know about Denisovans, we know from genetics. A finger bone, 3 teeth, a jaw fragment from Tibet. That is the entire physical record. They lived across Asia between 200,000 and 50,000 years ago. They interbred with Neanderthals and with modern humans. People in Papua New Guinea today carry up to 6% Denisovan DNA, the most of any living group. Homo floresiensis, the Hobbit. In 2003, Australian archaeologists digging in Liang Bua Cave on the Indonesian island of Flores found a tiny skeleton, 3.5 feet tall, with a brain of 400 cubic centimeters. They named it Homo floresiensis. It lived between 190,000 and 50,000 years ago. Floresiensis made stone tools and hunted dwarf elephants and giant rats. Its small size was the result of insular dwarfism. When large mammals get stranded on small islands with limited food, evolution shrinks them over generations. Homo luzonensis. In 2019, archaeologists excavating Calao Cave in the Philippines found a handful of teeth and finger bones. Tested, they came back as a previously unknown species, Homo luzonensis. It lived between 67,000 and 50,000 years ago on the island of Luzon. Like the hobbits on Flores, luzonensis was small, and its finger and toe bones were still curved for climbing trees. The discovery means island Southeast Asia had at least 2 separate small human species at the same time as Neanderthals were dying out in Europe. Homo sapiens. Homo sapiens is the only hominin still alive. The oldest known sapiens fossils come from Jebel Irhoud in Morocco, 300,000 years old. Sapiens has a 1,350 cubic centimeter brain, a high forehead, a small face, and a pointed chin. About 60,000 years ago, sapiens left Africa. Within 40,000 years, they reached every continent except Antarctica. Every other human species died out shortly after sapiens arrived. By 30,000 years ago, sapiens was the only human species left on Earth.